to come out into the light. And when the sun appears and there are no clouds to mar our vision of that sun and the magnificence of its light, we hasten to get in the light, for in the light we see all things clearly. Death serves life. No man or woman should be afraid of death, for death is a part of life. Without death, there can be no life. And without life, there can be no death. Why would you say, Brother Farrakhan, that without death, there can be no life? It is a cycle. And if one dies and returns to the earth, the body that returns to the earth enriches the earth. The leaves that fall from the trees and return to the earth enrich the earth, giving it topsoil to bring up a better life down the road. So without death, there cannot be a better life. So death must also be conquered as darkness must be conquered. But the death that must be conquered is not the death that comes to every physical thing. For all flesh, the scripture says, is as grass. It cometh up, and it withereth, and it goes away. But there is an essence to man that must struggle to overcome the force of death and the finite existence of his or her flesh, blood, and bones. If you and I are captured by the flesh, captured by the bone, captured by the blood, where these three essentials of physical life entrap the spirit, and the will of the mind serves only the desires of the flesh, and the flesh is finite, then you die when your flesh dies. But if you can outgrow the flesh and learn that the will of God is to serve a higher thing than just the desires of the flesh, then you can absolutely conquer the death of the physical flesh. And this is why the scripture says, speak not of those who die in the way of Allah or are slain as dead. They are not dead, but you perceive not. You do not know how life makes a transition from this stage. So you only speak of those who die in the way of Allah as though they are no longer in existence. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. The will of God. In the universe, we see order. So God is not the author or a lover of confusion. He loves order. And we cannot get order except by obedience to law. So in our universe, we see light, we see life, we see order, we see a balance, and we see justice. What is justice? Justice is that all creatures are given a way to justify its existence by being itself. All lions justify themselves by being exactly what the Creator intended. When a lion starts acting like a pussycat, then it's directly in opposition to the will of God for that creature. It is cutting short its existence. It is not justifying its existence. What are you getting at, Farrakhan? Just bear with me just 2 more minutes. You'll see what I'm getting at. The light brings freedom to life. Therefore, we can say that the will of God is for all things to be free. The will of God is that all things justify their existence. The sun justifies its existence by shining. Being a light that brings light, life, energy, warmth to all in the circle of her light. She's justifying her existence. Therefore, God can look at the sun and say, I'm pleased. And he saw the light. It was good. I like the sun. Why do you like the sun, God? Because it's following out what I had in my mind. And I like what I think because I am God. Naturally, I'm pleased with my own thoughts. This is the God talking, not Farrakhan. Don't get crazy. He loves the light. He's pleased with the light because the sun justifies her existence. The moon, the stars justify their existence. The trees justify their existence. Don't you remember in the parable that Jesus made of a fig tree and it did not produce figs? Then he said, if it does not produce, then cut it down. Why? It has not justified being here. Because in order to justify being here, you must fulfill your purpose. If the purpose of a weed is to choke out the rose, then the weed must be found doing its job. If the purpose of a devil is to raise hell, then the devil must be found doing his job. If the purpose of the righteous is to do righteousness, then the righteous must be doing their job in order to justify their existence. Everything must be what God determined that they should be. So that's what justifies them. It does not mean you're not going to have a problem being what you're supposed to be. That's not the justice. The justice is that you justify your being here by being what the God created you to be. Then the other part of justice is that when you justify your creation, there's no such thing as a superior or inferior. All things are equal under that law. For the flea is equal to the elephant. For the flea is as God has directed. And the elephant is as God has directed. Not equal in mass, not equal in power, but equal in that they both justify themselves by being what the Creator ordered them to be. Now, if we can bear witness that God is the author of freedom, justice, and equality, then his will that works in the universe is working for freedom, for justice, for equality, for light over darkness, for the triumph of divine life over death. All right. That being so, our being in America as slaves could be justified by prophecy for 400 years. After that time, we cannot justify existing in America as a slave since we've come out of the prophesied time. That means, beloved, if you try to exist in America any longer as the free slave of your master, you are against the will of God and you will not be successful no matter what you do, because the God of freedom desires that you go free. You desire to stay attached to your slave master and his children. Therefore, there's a test of wills now, since you want to oppose God. The government of America is a powerful government that is granted. And we are to respect those in authority over us. And that is what we do. until they ask us to do that which is contrary to the will of God. And for the government to ask us to be slaves in the day of our freedom, we must challenge the government. Our will is the will of God. We must go free. The government of America has no right to order you to sign up for a draft.